Hello and welcome to this tech webinar, Dynamicweb tech webinar, where I will present some tools that I think that every web developer should know. And I'll start off by defining what I see as a web developer. And basically, I think a web developer is somebody that creates code that is shown by a web browser. And I see myself as a web developer. And apart from being a web developer, I'm lazy, meaning that I want to work as little as possible, but still make good and solid solutions. And I want to create simple and maintainable code. And I want to use the best, or at least some good tools for creating the code that will be shown on the web. So today I'll quickly run through some of the tools I use almost every day. Some of them I use every day, some of them I use a couple of times a week or something. But I'll just show them to you, and hopefully you can get inspired to use some of the tools, or maybe already use other tools that do the same things. But let's get started. A very basic tool that any web developer needs is, of course, a web browser. And we also need more than one web browser so that we can test our solutions across the range of web browsers that exists today. And here I've listed some of the web browsers I use. Firefox, as you know, Google Chrome, Safari on the Mac, Internet Explorer on Windows, and Opera. And Lynx is a text-based web browser, that I sometimes use to check that web content I've created makes sense without all the fancy styling that a graphical web browser can use. Today I will use Google Chrome as the web browser for demoing stuff, and it's basically because it's a browser that runs on all platforms, and it's the browser I use most often in my daily work. One of the tools I use most is the inspector called Developer Tools in Chrome, Safari, and Internet Explorer, and Firebug, an add-on in Firefox. It's a really great tool for on-the-fly tweaking and testing stuff. That could be if you want to change some styling on a web page and adjust the margins or the paddings or the colors and stuff like that. And I'll just show you how it works. If I open the Dynamicweb solution set, I can pull up my inspector here at the bottom, and I have the first tab is the elements. I can see the HTML that is currently on the page. And one important thing to note is that the HTML I see down here is the generated HTML, i.e. not the HTML that the server has delivered, but the current DOM structure after any JavaScript that adds or removes content has run. And I can just click around and inspect the elements, and on the top of the screen I have some rulers for checking the dimensions of elements. And here on the right, at the bottom right, I have the styling that applies to the element I have selected right now. If I could inspect the menu, inspect element, then I can see my menu that is built up as an unordered list. And on the right, I see the styling, and I can change styling and do a lot of cool tricks. But I suppose you guys already know the inspector. It's a really useful tool. And we have the resources tab where I can see what resources have been loaded. That's great for tracking what the browser is actually loading. And the network traffic, if I reload the page, I can see what the browser is requesting from the server and how much time it spends on that. So that's a very basic way of inspecting a web page and doing on-the-fly changes to the content or the styling. Oh, sorry about that. But another tool that I use more than once a week is an add-on for Google Chrome called Stylebot. And Stylebot is an add-on that persists styling modifications in the browser, meaning that I can create my own styling of a web page to make the look of the web page fit my needs or how I think it should look. And I can show you if I pull up the solution set again. I just removed the inspect. Then up here in the address bar, I have it says CSS. If I click there, I get a Stylebot. And what Stylebot it's simply a tool that injects CSS into the page, and it has a tool here where I can pick an element, and it shows what element, the outline of the element that I'm currently selecting. So let's assume I want to check the shopping cart image, and then I could hide that if I want to. Or I can change the width. I could put a background color. And it's a great tool for trying stuff out, and basically because it remembers the settings across page reloads. And of course, I can also edit the CSS myself to make any changes I need. For instance, if I want to hide the slide for some reason, I can just do that by injecting this CSS. So that's a really great tool that I use a lot. And another great addition to the Stylebot is Stylebot Social. That's a forum or a social network, whatever we should call it, where people can create and share their styling. And for instance, if I say I have a Wikipedia article about Metallica, and open that one just to show you a Wikipedia article, then there's a default style of Wikipedia. We can like it or we cannot like it. I think it's nice and clean, but it can get even nicer. So if I go into Stylebot, I just show you here. I made a search for Wikipedia, and then I can add a new styling created by someone. I can see here there's some Wikipedia for reading. Some guy has created. Apparently, he thinks that Wikipedia is ugly, so he has done something about that. What I can do here is I can inspect the CSS to check out what he has done. And then I can also download or install this style in Stylebot. I do this by clicking here. Now it's installed. Then I go back to Wikipedia page and refresh the page. And then Stylebot applies the styling that has been created by this guy that thinks that Wikipedia is ugly. So that's a great tool for experimenting with new styling or change styling on an existing site. And then when you have built up the needed modifications in Stylebot, you can of course move them into a style sheet on the solution on the file system and publish them on the website. And Stylebot is available for Google Chrome. That's the one I'm using, and there's also a similar tool for Firefox called Stylish, if you prefer to use Firefox. And now, when I'm talking about style sheets, I've been writing CSS for many years, but I've never really liked writing CSS because if you attended my previous webinar, I think I have to write too much when I write CSS. And I've started to use Sass, and it's a really great, powerful tool for creating CSS style sheets. And then I'm also using Compass more and more, and Compass is built on top of Sass, and it contains a lot of best practice mixins, as it's called, for creating cool CSS layouts using modern languages and modern tools. There's also a Stylesheet language called Less. It's used by Twitter Bootstrap, I think it is, and it's a really nice tool as well. If you haven't taken a look at SAS and Compass or Less, I think you should really do it. It can really make it a lot easier and almost fun to create style sheets. So whenever I do some experimenting with web pages, sometimes I create a file on my hard drive, and I create an HTML file, and I create a SAS file, and probably I create a JavaScript file as well. And that's really great if I have a hard drive and I don't have to share it to anybody. But there's a lot of tools on the web right now where we can share and experiment with stuff. And I've collected a few here. That's basically the idea is that you get an online editor where you can edit HTML and JavaScript and CSS, and then you can see the result in the browser, and you can share it with people, and there's versioning control and a lot of cool stuff. And I've been using JS Fiddle a lot, but I recently discovered CodePen, and that's really, really cool. You can see here I've just opened the CodePen.io page where you can see some of the experiments that people have made, and there's a lot of really, really cool stuff going on in here with people pushing the boundaries of what can be done with modern CSS and stuff. Like you can see this box man created only using HTML and CSS and a little JavaScript. It's really, really cool. I'd like to show you a small example I've created. Here it's just a basic HTML page, and on this left side I can edit my HTML content, and it is updated on the fly in the bottom area. And in the middle I can create some CSS, and actually I can use some different frameworks. I can use None, that's a basic old-fashioned CSS. I can use the Less framework, or I can use SAS, the SCSS with Compass, or the SAS syntax with Compass. But I'm sticking with the SCSS syntax, basically meaning I can create nested rules. So let's say I want to target the header inside an article. Then I can write article, curly brackets, header, and you see on the below, if I get immediate response when something is wrong. But now it works, and now I've created this simple rule. And just for if any of you haven't seen played with it, this selector at the top is basically the same. It is compiled into this. So this is the CSS syntax, and this is the SAS syntax. And as we move along, it should be pretty obvious that we get a lot from using the nested syntax here. I can just add a margin on top to the P element and create another P element over here. So that's a really cool tool, and of course we can zoom in on the different areas as well. And on the right we have a JavaScript pane where there's some settings as well. We can use basic plain JavaScript, or we can use CoffeeScript. And CoffeeScript is a language that's similar to JavaScript but has a slightly different syntax, and actually a much different syntax, but it's compiled into plain old JavaScript, and that's really nice to look into as well if you have got the time and the interest. And of course we can include the latest jQuery library in our code, and then we can do something on document ready. And we notice that the JavaScript code is run as well on the fly, so we don't have to refresh something or click run. So that's a nice tool, and we can save the pen, as it's called. We can share it, and we can add some metadata. And we can fork it. Actually, it's connected to GitHub, so we can fork into GitHub, and of course we can share it in an email or tweet on Twitter and whatnot, or download it as a zip file. But tools like CodePen.io and CSS Desk and JSBin and JSFiddle are really cool for small experiments you want to create, and you just want to get coding right away without having to create files or fire up a local web server or something like that. And it's also great for showing stuff to your friends or colleagues or something, where you have an idea for something. How can we do this? Maybe you can do it like this. So great tool, and there's a lot to choose from. So I think you should pick one and play around with it. But currently, CodePen.io is my favorite. So another tool that I use regularly is a gradient generator, because I'm not a graphics designer in any way, but I like gradients, but I have no idea even if I could manage to fire up GIMP and create a gradient. I could save it as an image, but I really like to use the CSS3 ways of creating gradients. And somebody has come to my rescue. And this is my favorite gradient generator. There are others out there. Some might be better, some might be a little worse, but this is great for my needs. And what you basically do, you can pick some of the presets up here that people have created, and then I can move around the slider, and that my graphic capabilities can make me do that. So that's great, and I can reverse the gradient, and then I can get the CSS code over here and just put that into my style sheet, and I can even get IE9 support if I want to. And I can also get the gradient as Sass output, and as I don't write CSS anymore, I always use the Sass output. And if I go back to CodePen, I can put this into my style sheet here. Let's just say that the header, the page header directly inside the body should have that gradient. I just paste that in. Just save my JavaScript over here. So now I have it's not a beautiful header, but it's still a header with a gradient. I'll just add some padding to it. So that's a great way of creating gradients, and I think even if I were a graphic designer, I could probably use a tool like this or another tool. And you can also get a unique link for the gradient, so you can reuse it. I have an example here that I created a little earlier. So each gradient has a unique link, so you can share it with your friend. So you can add a comment in your style sheet, so you can go back and edit the gradient without having to remember the values. So another great tool. And something that's really needed is image placeholders. And of course, we could fire up a graphics program to create an image, or we could use Image Magic or some command line tool if we prefer to create a small image. But I use PLACEHOLD.IT as image placeholders. And basically, it's a service where cool guys have created a server that I can call and get back an image. I'll just pull up this URL. Open this in a new tab. Then the server delivers an image that is 300 pixels wide, 350 pixels wide, and 150 pixels high. And I can just add those values, and I get back a new image. So that's really great for adding a placeholder image when I'm developing a design and I need a logo placeholder or some image for a product. And apart from being able to specify the width and height of the image, I can also choose the format. Should it be a GIF or a PNG or JPEG, and I can specify the size. I can specify a background image color and a text color, and I can also specify a text on the image. So I'll create an image here. Again, it's not very beautiful, but it serves the purpose, and I can just, of course, I can put that into my CodePen pen here with the figure. Then I can start playing around with sizes of this image. Now it's as a GIF file I use. I could just remove, then it will be a PNG. So it's a nice way of getting some images, and I can quickly get images in different sizes and test out what the background color should be and stuff like that. So another great tool that I use regularly. Whenever you venture into the area of responsive design, you face the challenge that probably you sit and manually resize your browser window a lot to check out what happens if a user comes with an error display. There's a number of tools for helping with that task, and basically the idea is that you can go to any website. I'll just close some tabs here. I pick out my solution set here, or the Dynamicweb solution set. And then up here I have installed an add-on called Image Resizer that has currently has three screen sizes that I can change between to check out how my design looks. And you can see here that the new solution set is responsive, so the menu is collapsed when it doesn't fit into the screen. And of course I can manually resize the page as well and see what's going on. And down here it actually shows the current image dimensions, but I cannot see those. But I can fix that. I can pull up Stylebot and edit the CSS, and I've cheated a bit to find out what selector I should target to remove that image down there. Oh, it doesn't work right now. Sorry about that. It should work, but it doesn't. But we should be able to remove this image. Sorry. Just hide all hiding all iframes. Then we can see at the bottom right that that's the image window resizer, sorry, add-in reporting what the window size is right now and what the viewport size is. And the viewport is the window without all the menu and the Chrome. So that's really useful when creating responsive web design. And there's a couple of window resizer and mobile resizer are for Google Chrome, and there's Firesizer for Firefox. And I haven't been able to find one for Internet Explorer, but it's probably out there somewhere. And continuing the line of responsive design, there's Adobe put out a tool called Adobe Edge Inspect that makes it possible to inspect and debug websites on actual physical devices. Because one thing is that you can sit with your desktop browser and resize that to mimic the display on an iPad or an iPhone or another smartphone. But it can be a different experience when you actually test the website on the actual device. And Adobe has created a great tool for this, and as it runs on physical devices, it's hard for me to make a demo of this. But I suggest you go into the website and read a little about Adobe Etch Inspect. It's a really cool tool. And some time ago, I wrote a short blog article of how it can be used. I can just show it. It's basically just fire up a website open a website on your desktop or your computer, and then it automatically reloads on the connected devices, and you can grab screenshots and check that the layout is as you want it to be. Here I was creating an experiment in JS Fiddle. I think no, it was I should have used JS Fiddle, but I actually used Dropbox, where I can see the menu. The experiment is how do we create a collapsible menu that shows some menu items but collapses the ones that cannot fit on the screen. And here we see the screenshots from the different devices: an iPhone, an iPad, and my Nexus S phone. So if you have the time and you're interested, you should check out Adobe Etch Inspect. And Adobe has a lot of cool stuff as well going on with everything about web development. And then finally, there's one more thing, and it's a extremely cool tool that's available on the Mac, and that tool is called CodeKit, and it's basically an application that wraps all the cool tools that are out there. There's Compass, there's SAS for Stylesheet, and it can run less processes. And Stylus, that's another Stylesheet language. It can process JavaScript and CoffeeScript and do some linting on the output using JSHint and JSLint, and it has the prepend and append instructions for including JavaScript files into each other. So basically what you end up with is a single JavaScript file, and it watches directories and files and simply refreshes whenever you make changes to a SAS file or less file, it automatically recompiles the file and creates a new CSS file. And it has live browser reloading, so you don't have to, you can just have your browser on one side of the screen, and then whenever you change something in your editor, CodeKit recompiles the style sheet and automatically refreshes in the browser. So it's a really useful tool. But you need a Mac to be able to run this, and most of the tools you can, of course, run on Windows and Linux, but the CodeKit application is a really cool wrapper for all the tools that are available on all platforms. And as a final note, I'll just like to point out some of the online blogs or websites that I follow with resources on everything going on with web development. There's a list apart with a lot of cool articles on hardcore development and also on content in general and a lot of interesting stuff. And then there's Smashing Magazine as well with a lot of cool articles, and sometimes they have some overview articles on 50 JavaScript tricks that you need to know or something. So give them a read if you feel like it. And I'd just like to make an announcement for some more webinars that are coming up. We have weekly webinars, and on next Thursday in a week we have a solution set case where a couple of partners will come and tell how they built a customer solution on top of our solution set. And as a part of this presentation, I will give a short overview of how the templates and the style sheets are structured in our solution set, so you can get a feel for how it's what you can do to change it and how you go about changing the solution set to fit the customer needs. And you can find the full list of upcoming webinars on Engage. And I should just note that there has been a small change in the program on December the 13th. Jonas will talk about the integration framework, and that's the webinar was originally scheduled to be about the solution set, but it has been changed to being about the integration framework. So that's all for me for now, and if you have any questions or suggestions or anything, that please let me know. Thank you. Oh, I see now that there's been some issues with the sound. I hope you were able to hear me, even though I sounded a bit like Stephen Hawking. I don't know if that's, I think I take that as a compliment. Yeah, there's a comment on that Firebug is 1,000 times better than the Internet Explorer and Google Chrome developer tools, and I agree. But some people prefer to use a Google Chrome, and I use Google Chrome and the developer tools sometimes. But you should pick the tool that you think is the best. And there's a question if I will publish my presentation. Yes, I will publish the presentation and also a video recording of the online demo. And then there's a question of why Opera and links. That's a really good question, but there are some people using Opera, and actually Opera is not a very used browser, but actually it has some really cool features with paged media and stuff like that. But so it's you should probably test your web design in Opera, and but it should work, as Opera is a modern standard-based browser. And as I just mentioned regarding links, links is a text-based editor, and it can be quite interesting to take a look at a website in a browser that cannot show images. I can just just show you links here in my on my command line. So now I'm opening the Google web page. So it's basically a way of getting an overview. If we are able to read the web page using just a text browser, then it can be read by Google, and it can also probably be read in a meaningful way by blind people using screen readers. So you can see actually I can use the Google search engine without having a browser that can show images, but I use it sometimes because it's fast and it gives a great overview of what the text content of your page is. But so I hope that answers the question. Yeah, there's Paul Sørensen mentions subtlepatterns.com. I think I was looking at that there yesterday. That's another great tool for subtle patterns. For getting background images. So you can use that as well. So I think that's it for now. If there are no more questions, I will say thanks for your time, and I will hopefully you will come back to attend more of our upcoming webinars. Thank you.